Hey crew, it's Pitt, and I'm back with some more Esoterica. Today we are diving back into the Theatrum, Chemicum, Britannicum. We are reading aloud and discussing as we go along various points brought to light by the text. It is not the format for everyone, but people do find value in it, so you are more than welcome to tag along as we continue our exploration. Before we begin, however, if you are unfamiliar with me, any of my unconventional beliefs, or if at any point in time I lose you in terminology, there will be several playlists linked in the corner above. In the box down below, along with the original source material, the link for my book where I teach you to do magic and live responsibly, and the links to get in contact with me directly or to support the channel so that you can get a better understanding of who I am and why I say the things that I do. With that being said, we are going to dive in and continue our exploration of the Theatrum, Chemicum, Britannicum with Norton's Ordinal, Chapter 5, Part 1. This is a 40-page section. We will break it in half. We will be stopping about halfway where I can find a natural breaking point. It's just too long to do in one chunk. So, Chapter 5. Bryce by surname when the change of coin was had. Now, it is interesting to note, we have not hit it on the way, but the illumination on these pages, right? The illumination is the fancy part right here, this box with the B in it. They form a sentence, almost. If you look at them in order all the way down, it says Thomas Norton of Bristol, I believe, right? And so this Bryce is playing into that. I do not believe that there actually was a word Bryce, but this is part of Bristol. And so, and then it says the surname when the change of coin was had. That is obviously talking about a change in the governing structure. This is particular to England, so this is probably the interchange between a set of kings, right? The, what was this? The Normans are one of them, and the Windsors are another one, right? The change between who is in charge, that would be the surname. When the change of coin was had, made some men sorry and some men glad. And as to much people that change seemed a new thing and strange, so that season befell a wondrous thing. Touching this science without leasing, that 3 masters of this science all lay in one bed nigh to Leaden Hall, which had elixirs parfait white and red, a wonder such 3 reft in one bed, and that within the space of days 10, while hard it is to find one in millions of men. Of the dukedom of Lorraine, one, I understand, was born that other night, the middle of England. Under a cross, in the end of the shires 3, the 3rd was born, the youngest of them is he, which by his nativity is by clerks found, that he should honor all English ground. Now, this, he may say who this is, and once again, we have not done this in anticipation. I have not read through this, so I don't know. But if not, right, the people in the current time would have been able to figure it out. I don't particularly care for references like that. I prefer you to go ahead and name the people instead of try to insinuate the people. We point that out all the way through all of the things so that if you decide to write something and you include topical references, include the entire reference, not just the part that everybody should know. All right. A man might walk all the world about and fail such 3 masters to find out. It is exceedingly difficult to find people with actual knowledge, right? That is one of the problems. Twain be fleeting, the youngest shall abide, and do much good in this Lund at a tide. That is London. But sins of princes shall let or delay that grace that he should do in a day. The eldest master chaunted of him a song, and said that he should suffer much wrong. Of them were to him greatly behold, and many things more this master told, with sith that time hath truly befall, and some of them hereafter shall. Whereof one is truly, said he, after troubles great joy shall be. in every quarter of this Lund, which all men shall understand. The younger asked when that should be. The old man said when men shall see. The Holy Cross honored both day and night in the land of God and the land of lights, which may be done in right good season, but long delayed it is without reason. When that beginneth, note well this thing, this science shall draw towards the King, and many more graces ye may be bound, may be bold. Mo then of us shall now be told, grace on that King shall descend when he should manners full, when he old manners shall amend. He shall make full secret search for this science with dulcet speech, and among the solitary he shall have tidings certainly. So sought King Khalid of many men, till he met with Morian, which helped Khalid at his need. His virtues caused him to speed. Now such matters let us cease, and of the futile work rehearse. Great need hath he to be a clerk that would perceive this futile work. Now there is a continual reference to clerk, right? Clerks are people who keep records, right? There was personal attendants that took dictation, and that was a clerk. But there was also clerks that kept accounting, and there's clerks that keep the court records, right? There are clerks that are in charge of filing. And so what this is telling you is that you need to be organized in your works, right? You should be a clerk, means that you should be able to read and write. You should be able to do arithmetic. And not only that, but that should be the primary focus if you are doing the empirical work, right? The physical alchemy requires that you do that. The mental alchemy is a lot less of that requirement, right? I am doing that openly and honestly, but most people did not. Most people did not even keep a record, really. What he did here was kind of outside of the box, exposing some secrets, not many, but some. And so when it tells you that you should be a clerk, that is not necessarily saying that your position has to be a clerk, right? It is more intimating that you should be scholastically minded. You should be aiming towards discovering the truth through the investigation thereof, as opposed to just going about your life as a normal human being. Right? He must know his first philosophy if he trusts to come by alchemy. And first he shall well understand all that takes this work in hand. When your materials by preparation be made well apt for generation, then they must be departed a twin into 4 elements if you would to win. Which thing to do if ye can, go and learn it of Hortolan, which made his book of that doctrine, that ye should part the elements of wine. Doctrine and wine. Moreover, you must, for your succor, know the effects of the quality fower. That looks like an F. Fewer, maybe. The effects of the qualities tower, maybe. Called heat, cold, moisture, and dryings, of which power. That's got to be power. Qualities power, right? Heat, cold, moisture, dry. That is the 4 elements, the 4 assertions that are given to the elements. You have fire, you have air, you have water, you have earth. Heat, cold, moisture, dry. Of which power all things compounded is. That makes sense. It has to be power. And sith in this art of your chief desire is to have color which should abide fire. You must know before you can that see how every color engendered shall be. For every color which may be thought shall here appear before that white be wrought. Yet more would ye have to this sum, swiftly to melt as wax or gum. Else mought it not enter in purse, the center of metals as auctors rehearse. So you would have it both fix and flow, with color plenty if you would wift how. Such 3 contraries jointly to meet in one accord is a great secret. Nathless he is that is clear of mind, in this chapter may it well find, And first to give you short doctrine of the aforesaid qualities prime. There is a notation here. This is from the original, right? This is a copy of the original. And it says something like it's pointing out, shall appear here before that white be wrought. Every color which may be thought shall here appear before that white be wrought. Yet more what ye would have to this fume, swiftly to melt as wax or gum. Right? There is a process by which there are colors revealed before, well, it is during the white process, right? The combination of the 7 colors equals the white. And so the addition of the 7 colors on the way up can enter the white. That is not a direct one-for-one correlation, but it is enough of one to me to read that into there, right? For every color which may be thought shall here appear before the white be wrought. Absolutely makes sense to me in accordance to the things that I am already convinced of. So, confirmation bias. Swiftly to melt as wax or gum, else mought it and not enter and pierce. The center of all metals is altered rehearse. So you would have it both fixed and flow with color plenty, if you wist how. If you wist how. Such 3 contraries jointly to meet in one accord is a great secret. Nevertheless, he that is clear of mind in this chapter may well find at first to give you a short doctrine of the aforesaid qualities prime. Heat and cold be qualities active, moisture and dryness be qualities passive. And they suffer in the actives evermore, as stones be to be lime and water to be frore. Hereupon to judge ye may be bold. Nothing is full wrought but by heat and cold. And it is important to note that you do not add cold, you remove heat. That is a vital fundamental law of thermodynamics. It has to be, right? And so it's saying that heat and cold are active, and I am not going to be in agreement with that. Right? You can add heat, that is active, that is masculine. You cannot add cold, you can only remove heat. Cold would be the feminine, that is not going to be an active principle. In addition to that, you have dry and moisture. You cannot add dry, you can only add moisture. Therefore, moisture is going to be an active quality, and dryness would be passive. Again, masculine and feminine. Yes, they are diametrically opposed. And so, I do not come into accordance with this particular part of this. And again, I am not an expert in physical alchemy, but by logical deduction, this doesn't work. Now, again, that is arbitrary designations. Right? Heat and cold, they are things, right? But they are relative things. Anything warmer than you is considered hot. Anything colder than you is considered cold. But that is relative to you. Nevertheless, the passives have some activity. As in handicrafts, men ye may daily see. In baking and brewing and other crafts all, moisture is operative, and so drinks be shall. And that's what I was just saying, right? That this is telling you right here that he knew that he was in contradiction with himself, right? If it is passive, then it is passive. It is not sometimes active, or else it is active. Right? Cold is passive. You cannot add cold. You can only remove heat. That is passivity. You cannot add dryness. You can only remove moisture. That is passivity. Again, Aristotle said in his Physics, and other many mo, said ab activitas proceeded speculato. From action proceeds speculation. Interesting. They said that practice is root to me, and I mean it is, right? When you complete an experiment, it opens up brand new questions. They said that practice is root and beginning of speculation and of all cunning, for the properties of everything be perceived by their working. As by colors of urines we may be bold, to give sentence of heat and cold. By these aforesaid 4 qualities prime, we see colors with length of time. Of white color we be not full sure, to seek it, but in a substance pure. Great doctrine thereof learn now ye may, when you know how colors grow all day. Color is the utmost thing of a body clear. Clear substance well termed is his manner here. If heat hath mastery in matters of this that is dry, white color is ever thereof certainly. And it appeareth in sight of brent bones, and in making of all limestones. Where cold worketh in matter moist and clear, yet of such working whiteness will appear, as it showeth in ice and in frost hoar. The cause is set out of in philosophy before. I write not here of common philosophy, but by example to teach alchemy, that one may be perceived by that other, as is the child perceived by the mother. If heat and moist matter engross withal, work thereof black color engender shall. Example hereof if ye of me desire, behold when you see green wood set on a fire. When cold worketh in matter thick and dry, black color shall be, this is the cause why. Such matter is compacted and much more thick, with cold contraying enemy to all quick. Thickness made darkness without privation of light. So color is private and black is to sight. Therefore evermore remember this, how clear matter is matter of whiteness. The cause efficient may be manyfold, or somewhile it is heat, and for some time cold. All right, now there is a couple of points that can be brought here. Right? First off, I will point out that there are two different processes, right? There is the whitening, where you get to the white, and there is the darkening, where you go back to the black. Now, for me, that is pulling the black up to the white, and then the white down to the black. That is the application for me. This is kind of a confirmation, right? White or black, but not really. In reality, in physical alchemy, what this is talking about is an assumption that is untrue, right? The assumption is that the pureness will reflect white or black dependent, but that is not necessarily true, right? Pure copper is not going to express as white or black. It will instead express in a copper color. The same is true with pure iron and pure magnesium and pure carbon. Well, carbon's kind of black, but the point is that there is an assumption here that there is a purity that is attributed to this particular color. And while that is true philosophically, that is not true in ritual alchemy, right? Even burning ash is going to give you a combination of white and black, not white, not black, but instead a combination thereof, right? There is many assumptions that are made. One of the assumptions that we've already talked about is the as above, so below correlation. And while there is as above, so below correlation in spiritual terms, that is not always necessarily true in physicality, right? One of the problems with alchemy, physical alchemy, was that they were trying to reproduce in physicality the stone that they had created spiritually. They figured, hey, this correlation is as above, so below. And so, obviously, if I can create this internally, there should be another external thing that is similar to. And that is simply an assumption. And there is no good reason to believe an assumption. I mean, you can test it, you can try it, but don't believe it. There is a purification process, right? If you burn things, they do turn out mostly white or mostly black, depending upon the surface substance. But again, it is not an intrinsic trueness in the way that it is portrayed here. And that's what I'm trying to point out. Also, again, you cannot add cold. But white and black, as all men may see, be colors contrary in most extremity. Wherefore your work with black must begin. It should, and if the end should be with whiteness to wind. And again, that is philosophical, right? Your work with black must begin if the end should be whiteness to wind. That seems to me to fit fairly well. Right? And it is exactly contrarily true as well. If your work be to make white, then or to make black, then you should begin in the white. Again, that is me assuming, so again, test and try, but it does fit fairly well for this part. The middle color, as philosophers write, is red color between black and white. Red is not the color between black and white. It is closer to black. Again, I give you the spectrum. Right? This at the top, that is ultraviolet. It is closer to the combination of all the colors, which would be white. The red underneath that is infrared, which is almost the deviation from all color, which is indeed closer to black. And so the median point between the white and the black is going to be green. Right? And I don't make those rules up. Like, this is coming from a prism or the rainbow that is cast in the sky when it's raining. Like, I don't make the things up. I just correlate them with how they seem to fit. And I could be wrong. The red could be at the top and the indigo at the bottom. Right? But it does not appear to be that way in physicality, and there's no reason to assume that it would be different spiritually for this. Right? There are some as above, so below correlations. Is red color between black and white? Nevertheless, trust me, certainly red is lost in work of alchemy. And that, again, I do agree with, right? You don't lose, right? You balance your red. Right? You have a dark red, you have a light red. See the two different colors of red? There is the shadow red, anger, wrath. There is the light red, love. Those are diametric opposites. The median point is kindness. That is kind of a cherry red, like a nice, healthy, glowing red. Whereas one is a little bit closer to auburn, it is kind of dark, and the other one's a little bit closer to pink, it is a little bit too light. And so there is a balancing point by which you create red in the process, right? Taking it from auburn and pink and creating the median. That is part of the process, even to me who cannot visually do these things intentionally. One of the reasons why I can stand so firm is because it was confirmed to me before I could change the colors by myself. And so, in part, this is right? You do lose your anger in the process, not entirely, but mostly, right? I do react with a lot less wrath these days than I did before. And so there is a part of that is true. Also, they say in their doctrine how this two colors, rose and citrine. Okay, so that is going to be rose, I guess, and citrine. Now, that is a red, the rose, rough red. That I'm assuming that is red. And then citrine, you know what color citrine is? It is orange. Be mean colors between white and red. And how that green and color one is led between red and black be colors mean. And freshest color is a matter most clean. There is a green right here in the middle, right? And that could even be considered lead, right? There is turning that lead heart, which is greed, into the charitable heart, which is gold. Physicians in urines have color 19 between white and black as they wean. Whereas color under white, like if you were pissing black, you have some severe problems. Right? This is saying urine in colors 19 between white and black. Now, you can say that overhydrated person is peeing white. Okay, it is mostly clear, barely tinged yellow at all. Fine. But black? Bro, you got some kidney issues if you're pissing black. You've got some blood issues if you're pissing black. Like, it gets really dark, but it does not get black. Whereas color under white, sebaceous is one, like in color to onyx stone, of such like color magnesia found is. I'm going to pop this out, right? Let's see if I can get just magnesia. See, it says magnetic right there. I'm going to look it up real quick. I want to see if this is something different. Because to me, that is magnetic, right? There is no magnesia. There is here is U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Every reference popping up is actually magnets, which is what I was thinking anyway, right? I just wanted to make sure. Now, whereas color under white, subalbicitus is one. Let's see if I can get that word. I don't know if that's going to pop out either. Subalbicitus. The white chanterelle, a species of fungus native to North America. Okay, so that is quite literally a mushroom. Whereas the color under white, subalbicius, is what we had the reference. Let's look at the color of it, right? That is kind of a yellow. Is that not a yellow, right? Chanterelles are pretty close to yellow, and that would be under white, right? And by under white, I'm not talking about directionality, but beneath white would be yellow, especially without the knowledge of the spectrum. That would absolutely make sense, and that is another step in the process. Gluttony and denial is associated with yellow, and it is even eating things. So maybe. Like in color to the onyx stone. Now that is going to be a little bit different, right? Let me grab mine right here because this is coming up, right? Here's my magnets. I just dropped a bunch of them, but it'll be all right. All right, so I've got magnets here. See these magnets? These are remarkably similar in color to an onyx stone. They are not, right? This is not onyx. This is magnetite. See, it's a magnet. These are the ones I play with. I have 7 of them that I play with. 4 of them fell on the ground, but it is a dark colored stone. You cannot in any way, shape, or form mistake this onyx for white or even yellow. There may be different colors of onyx, but the only onyx that I am aware of is indeed black. But this next part, of such like color, magnetia is found, right? Magnets. There are these magnets. They are found naturally, and they are a color that is similar to the onyx stone. But magnesia glittereth with clearness. You see that shine, that luster that is upon them? In our subtle work of alchemy, shall be all colors that hath been seen with eye. And again, I agree with that, right? Even to the point of the light and dark shades in the middle of them. And 100th colors more in certainty than have ever been seen in urine. I will go with that. Hopefully you have not seen blue or purple, right? If you've seen blue or purple urine, you got some problems, big dog. Wherein so many colors mought not be, but if our stone conveyed every degree of all compositions found in work and kind, and of all compositions imaginable by mind, of as many colors as shall therein be seen, and many graduations of your wisdom must attain. Of as many colors as shall therein be seen, saying, so many graduations your wisdom must attain. There are 7 on the way up, there are 7 on the way down, and then you get to mix them together. I'm just saying, confirmation bias is acknowledged, but yeah. And if you know not such gradations all, learn them of Raymond in his Atre General. Gilbert Keimer wrote after his devils of 17 proportions, but they may not suffice in this science which he could never find. There are 14 balance points. 16 if you count the balance point between self and God. Yes, that is a balance point, but that is a much more advanced balance point. in this science which he could never find. And yet, in physic, he had a noble mind, where the royalty of the nature of man advanceth often medicines of the physician, and so honoureth oft times his craft, when that the medicines peradventure maud be last, but it is not so in physic of minds. For that art exceedeth all other engines, and resteth only in the wisdom of man, and by experience wise men witness can. And foe of alchemy, the true foundation, is in composition by wise graduation, of heat and cold, of moist and dry, knowing other qualities engendered thereby, as hard and soft, heavy and light, rough and smooth by ponders right, with numbers and measures wisely sought, in which 3 resteth all that God has wrought. 1, 3, 8. Did you catch that? 3 numbers, 1, 3, and 8? Okay. Just making sure you caught it. I do have videos on that. For God made all things, and set it sure, in numbers, ponder, and in measure. Which numbers if you do change and break upon nature, you must do rake. Wherefore Anaxagoras said, take good heed, that to conjunction ye not proceed, till you know the ponders full complete, of all components which should therein meet. Once again, right, we have not read through Anaxagoras. I don't even remember whether most of the referrals we have were good or bad. Right, Dorn, they were good. Paracelsus, not so much. I do not remember about Anaxagoras, but, right, take good heed that to conjunction ye not proceed, till you know the ponders full complete, of all the components which should therein meet. How many times have I told you that you need to work up, then down, right? You work up with the vices, you work down with the virtues. That is discovering the ponders full complete, right? That is pondering love and wrath. That is pondering lust and chastity. That is pondering gluttony and denial. That is pondering greed and charity. That is pondering pride and humility. That is pondering sloth and diligence. And finally, hope and despair. That is going through and seeing all 14 of the categories first, and then doing your balancing work. Just saying, confirmation bias acknowledged, exactly what I would expect to see. Bacon said that old men did nothing hide, but only proportion wherein was no guide. For none old author, king, prince, nor lord, writing of this science with others did accord. That is one of the problems, right? There is so many contradictions between the source materials and the proportions which, if ye would reach, Raymond with Bacon and Albert done it teach. With old Anaxagoras, of them show fower ye shall have perfect knowledge, but not of one have all. And if you would join 4 qualities to intent, then must ye conjoin every element, as water and earth after your desire, well compounded with air and fire, knowing the worthiest in his activity, the second, the third, every each in his degree, and fourth, and the vilest may not be refused, for it is profitable and best to be used, and best may extend his multiplication, in whom is the virtue of our generation. And that is the earthly letharge of our stone. Without him generation shall be none. Neither of our tincture fixation, but for nothing is fixed but earth alone. All other elements movable be, fire, air, and water, as ye daily see. But fire is cause of extendability, and causeth matters permissible to be. And clear brightness and colors fair is caused of kinds evermore of air. And ire also with his coatium makes things to be of light liquefaction. And wax and is and butter and gums all. A little heat maketh them to melt and fall. Water cleaneth with ablution believe, and things mortified causeth to revive. Of multiplying of fire is no greater wonder than is multiplying of earth set under. For earth beareth herbs, daily new and new, without number, therefore it is true that earth is wonderful as well as fire, though one spark may soon fill a shear. If all a shear were filled with flax, one spark then would wonderfully wax. Fire and earth be multipliers alone, and there be causers of multiplying our stone. Of this earth showeth Albert our great brother. In his minerals with Letharge is better than other. For the white elixir he doth it here there rehearse, and the book of meters showeth it in a verse. There is a cause of the multiplication, right? Fire and earth being multipliers alone, right? The earth is the representative of your body. It is also the representative of the void, right? The void is the things from which creation became. The fire is the thing that created the things from that which creation became. And so the mixing of the fire and the void, which is the representative of the earth, is the multiplier. Well, that is spirit and body, right? Now you have the binder between, which is your soul, and that is making the decisions. But this is fire and earth being the multipliers, right? You have to have, nothing comes from nothing. You have to have something that is the first law of creation, right? All things are one. Energy is neither created nor destroyed, but merely transmuted. That is, the source is always going to be there, even if it is transmuted into other elements, right? If the butane changes into carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide, all of the elements are still there. None of them were destroyed. They were merely changed. Fire and earth be the multipliers alone, right? The spirit being the multiplier is also a correlation, right? You have the soul, what is it? The spirit, the soul, and the earth, right? That is the way that it works. And then it's the exact opposite from the bottom: the spirit, the soul, and the earth. The deciding factor is the third eye, and it is the sacral. That is where you choose directions. And then you multiply through the earth, which is your voice, and your stomach, which is also the earth. And the way that you get the thing to multiply is by drawing it through the spirit, both top and bottom. And so that is fire and earth being multipliers in that way too. The two factors of multiplication is source and exponent. Right? 1 times 2 is source is 1, exponent 2. Now, to conjunction let us resort, and some wise counsel thereof report. Conjoin your elements grammatically, with all of their concords conveniently. Which concords to help a clerk be chief instruments of all this work? For nothing may be more contrary now than to be fixed and unperfectly flow. All of the grammarians of England and France cannot teach you this concordance. This ordinal telleth where you may it see, in physic, in the book, De Arborii. Join them also in rhetorical guile with nature's ornate and purified wise. Scythians our tincture must be most pure and fair. Be sure of pure earth, water, fire, and air. In logical wise, be it early or late, join true kinds not sophisticate. Ignorance hereof made many clerks lewdly to lease their labors and their works. Join them together also arithmetically, by feudal numbers proportionally. Whereof a little mention made there was when Boetius said in numerous elementalis, join your elements musically. I erased it because I had other work to do, but I did have the music there as well, right? So far, right? You have had logic, you have had observation, you have had rhetoric, we have had arithmetic. It's almost as if it is telling you to pursue the things that would make a good clerk, right? Almost as though it was telling you to be organized in your thoughts and record your stuff accurately. It's almost as if that was true, right? Now, there are other things to do, right? Rhetoric is not just hearing something, but it is challenging it, right? It is going through the logical processes to understand how it works. This arithmetically, that has a caveat, right? Gematria, that whole science of trying to prognosticate through the use of numbers doesn't work. You can find what you want. It is way too subjective to do anything with. And so, while you can make mathematical assumptions in physical alchemy, most especially, right, weighing out the proper grams is going to make a big difference in the end result. There is also remaining the proportions within yourself. There is the number of manifestations, which is 138. There is the spiral of Fibonacci, like 0, 1, 1, 2, 3. Right? These things are intricately linked to the process of enlightenment, not necessarily to the point where they cannot be separated, but it is significantly easier to attain mastery of the subject if you are able to do sacred geometry and ratios and proportions and things along that nature. And so this works on both ends of the physicality and the spirituality. Whereof a little mention made there was, when Boetius said in Tu numerus elementalis, join your elements musically for two causes. One is for melody, which their accords will make to your mind the true effect when that ye shall find. And I was pointing out the melody, right? There does seem to be a correlation between each one of these points and a musical note. To me, evidentially, so far, it appears that the musical scale for humanity, beginning at the base, corresponds to the note A in the lowest audible spectrum. It is also repeated in every octave going up, right? So you begin, I lost the number, I had it wrote down, I don't have it anymore. But the lowest possible A, and then if you double that frequency, you get the next higher A. And then if you double that frequency, you get the next higher A. That process appears to be a repeating pattern. A, for me at least, has resonated quite significantly with the base chakra in meditative practice. That proceeds all the way up, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, right? All the way. Every single time in all of my experiments, right? I go into it open-minded. I did not have a pre-assumed assumption that A would correspond with any particular chakra. Simply going through to see which one it felt like it was affecting, and then doing further investigation. It appears to be that A does correspond with the base chakra, B does correspond with the sacral chakra. There is definitely some wisdom that can be taken from that. I encourage you to experiment on your own. I am very much interested in your results. However, if you do the experimentation, let me know if the same notes correspond in the same way for you or if it is different. I have a suspicion, right? I cannot confirm it without evidence that it is going to be different. That my stack is INFJ, right? We talk about that often. There are other people who are not INFJs. And if this resonates specifically for the people with the stack in the way that I have it, that says one thing. If it's everybody is exactly the same, that says something different than if it is different for people with different cognitive functions. I am very much interested in those results. I would very much like to understand that, to see if that is a concurrence. That would explain a lot if there is a differentiation between the different types and the way that music affects you. That would explain a lot of things, right? Some of those concurrences that have been drawn not necessarily working out the way that they were thought that they would probably be affected by that. And so, right, this is one of those things I can only experiment upon myself. I don't have people here to experiment with. And so, if you want to put it to the test, please let me know. If you put it to the test, does it work? Is there a concurrence at all? Right, I am willing to be corrected. And if so, is the concurrence in the same way? And if you know, is your stack built, or how is your stack built, right? Are you an INFJ, an INFP, an ESTJ? How has it worked for you? I'm very much interested in that. I'm trying to get that together to put into the second edition. And also, for like as diasun, with diapente, and with diatessaron, with yapate yapaton, and lecanos muse, with other accords which in music be, with their proportions causing harmony. Much like proportions be in alchemy, but as for all the great numbers actual, but for the secret numbers intellectual. You must seek them, as I laid out before, out of Raymond, out of Bacon's lore. Bacon showeth it darkly in his 3 letters all, and Raymond better in his art general. We will probably go and deal with Bacon and Raymond, and there was a third one that I'm going to try and remember to write this down and to pop them out so that we can fall back and see them. Because if he is referencing them and he does have some good knowledge, there is very good likelihood that they had some good knowledge as well. And if they have that information available, I am very much interested in the good knowledge. Many men ween which doth them read that they do understand them when they do not. Indeed, with astrology joins elements also, to fortune their workings as these go. If you are unaware, I have done a couple of different studies into the esoteric, right? Not just reviewing these things, but more active studies, tarot and astrology being primary. Searching for correlations between accuracy, right? I am trying to discern whether it is true or not. I am not an expert in astrology. I am somewhat in tarot, right? I have played with that in sufficient ways to be fairly confident in my application thereof. Tarot seems to have a correlation, right? I watched numerous tarot readers across a wide span of time, right? These are not people that are connected with each other, but somehow, some way, they pull the same cards on the same day. Often, quite often, in the same placements, and explained in the same way. That is correlation across a spectrum, even if it is not necessarily objective correlation. I have not found that with astrology. I have done an investigation. It has not been as extensive. This week was really a determining factor for that, and there is a little bit of reason to think that maybe, but this week for me, right, according to the star charts, this week and last week was the first time that there was a real concordance from different readers, right? I've watched several different readers across the past couple of months, and generally speaking, they don't necessarily interpret the stars in the same way. Some of them do, some of them don't. It's kind of wishy-washy. These 2 weeks in particular, that has not been the case. Almost everybody that has watched actually did use the astrology for almost the same message. And so I was like, all right, we will check correlation. Now we have some correlation between independent agents, no correlation from me and between them. And there has been some small concurrence to the things that they said, but not really. Not really at all, right? And I can say this, y'all will not see this till next week. This week, there was supposed to be, according to the astrology, a collaboration unfold itself to me. Not me seeking it out, but instead presenting itself to me. It is Friday. Tomorrow is the end of the week. It is not over with yet. That may pop up later today. That may pop up tomorrow, but the new week begins the day after that. And if there is no collaboration that arises from my efforts. That is part of it. And independent of my request, that is a part of it as well. If that doesn't happen, then we are probably just going to dismiss astrology pretty much completely. That is, like, there's no other way around that, right? If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And continuing to try to hammer it into something that does work simply is not going to work. And there are reasons why people use them. They're just not very good ones. Now, if it turns out that there is an entire turnaround in my financial situation, which is one of the caveats, right? That is one of the things that was said. This collaboration in particular is going to lead to a turnaround in my financial situation. If that does not happen by tomorrow, then astrology has to go out the window. It just does. There was 8 different readers, right? Completely independent of themselves, in concurrence with each other for 2 solid weeks, that this was going to happen. If it doesn't happen, then it leans into it is not true. It has to. If it does not play out, right? Tarot did. Right? That is one of the things too, right? I did an extensive read on tarot, and like better than 6 months, pretty close to a year, before I even did my exploring tarot videos. And since then, I have continued to investigate to ensure that it is accurate. And it is fairly accurate. That does not mean that it is going to tell you exactly your day-to-day progression. But it reads the energies fairly well. And across, we'll use the number 8, although there are significantly more tarot readers that I have investigated. All 8 of them will pull, like, say they pull 16 cards, right? 14 of them across all 8 of them will be the exact same card. And the 2 that are not are a different way of expressing the other 2 cards. It really has worked out that way across a broad spectrum of tarot readers. And the interpretations that they bring are in accordance with each other and play out in my life. It has happened. Now, there is a caveat to that, right? Astrology and tarot. The tarot readings that I began investigating were Gemini readings. The Gemini reading, I'm a Gemini, right? June 7th, right there in the middle. And so all of the readings that I began the investigation of were Gemini. And then I expanded, right? I am a Pisces moon, Gemini sun, Pisces, Gemini. That's my read. And so I have 2 placements of Pisces, 2 placements of Gemini. Those were the 2 that I started paying attention to, right? I did Gemini first, and then I added Pisces. They were in concordance, right, to a large degree. And so then I was like, all right, well, I'll check out some Capricorn. And Capricorn did not comport with me at all. Sagittarius, not at all. Taurus, not at all, right? All the way through all the astrological signs. The only 2 that had any concordance with me was Gemini and Pisces. Ever. At any point. Right? This is me looking at it objectively. No correlations between me and any of the other signs, but definite correlations between me and the signs that I identified myself with. And that is a key. Right? Tarot works because it is a set of predetermined signals with the interpretation fairly well discovered, right? My interpretations is a simplification of other people's interpretations. The numbers accord more than the symbols do in a lot of times. But it is predetermined that these things mean these things, right? Tower means a change. Wheel of Fortune means a change in different ways. One of them is a change that is outside of your control. One of them you have some control. With the Chariot, that is change that you have full control. These are predetermined signals. But they only work if you pre-identify yourself with the group that it is coming from. That is something that I have discovered as well, right? So if I predetermine that I am a Gemini, and then I look at the readings for Gemini, that is a predetermination that I have made for myself, and it leads to the concurrence. That is, it appears to be Spirit's way of getting you there. Now, that is not limited to the astrological signs. You can use the MBTI stack to do the same thing, or you can use other identifiers, right? You can say, you can do tarot readings for writers, or you can do tarot readings for mechanics, right? And if you self-identify with that and you watch that, then that message is going to be wind up being for you in very real ways. And so all of that is to point out that there is some correlation between tarot and astrology, but it appears to be mainly that it is self-identification as that thing. And again, I have found no reason, right? If tomorrow plays out and nobody has reached out, y'all will not see this video until Monday, maybe Monday. It might be Tuesday, it might be Monday. I lost track. But if it doesn't play out by tomorrow, then there is no real reason for me to continue investigating astrology at all. Back to the text. With astrology join elements also to fortune their workings as they go. Such simple kinds, unformed and unwrought, must craftily be guided till the end be sought. All which season they have more obedience, above formed natures to stairs influence. And science perspective gives great evidence to all of the ministers of this science. And so done other sciences many mo, and especially the science de pleno and vaco. But the chief's mistress among sciences all, for help of this art, is magic, natural. That would be what I talk about. When the four elements wisely joined be, and every each one of them set in his degree, then of diverse degrees and diverse digestion, colors will arise towards perfection. For then worketh inward heat natural, which in our substance is but intellectual, which in our substance is intellectual. This is talking about the stack again. To sight unknown, hand may it not feel. His working is known to few men in field. And when this heat natural moved be shall, by our outward heat artificial, then nature excited to labor will not cease, many diversities of degrees to increase, which is one cause by reason you may see, while in our work for so many colors be. Therefore it causeth in this art great doubt, ignorance of heat within and without, to know how these two heats should accord, and which of them in working should be lord. Right? There are two sides of each one of these coins. You are to use them appropriately. Sometimes there is a call to be wrathful. Sometimes there is a call to be lustful. Sometimes there is a call to be gluttonous. You should pay attention to those times, right? If there is a time to be wrathful, then do so. That is heat. If there is a time to be chaste, do so. That is cold, right? Apply, as need be, the masculine and the feminine according to your intelligence. Just saying, confirmation bias acknowledged. Digestion to this work hath great likeness to digestion in things of quickness. And before other, as eyewitness can, it is most like to digestion of man. Therefore, said Morian, our stone in generation, is most like thing to man's creation. In whom faith Raymond, the 4 degrees all, of the 4 complexions together find ye shall. And that actually, which ye cannot find, amongst other creatures in none other kind, wherefore among creatures this two alone be called microcosmos, man and our stone, that is internal. The microcosm is you, the macrocosm is all of creation. Man in the stone, you are man, stone is your heart. Now, of digestion, the ailment in food, perfectly to know is needful and full good. It is humor, solid, constant with sickety, mightily mettled after some degree, in opposite passives mixed duly, engendered by inward and outwardly heat truly. So nothing else is our digestion but of humor, substantial, a create perfection. I pray ye laymen have me excused, though such terms with you not be used. I must use them for all auctors affirms how every science hath his proper terms. Digestion sometimes advanced may be, by outward cold, as yearly you may see, how in winter men eat more meat than in summer, when expanded is their heat. For cold maketh heat inward then to fly, and lig nigh together, then stronger is he, which by his strength his power is more, to make digestion than he mought before. This is talking about heat being the application for the digestion, and I did talk before about not knowing how to express that. Right, I believe it was the last video we said, I didn't know how to express a way to say you can make yourself digest a little bit faster, but he did. Right? By adding the heat, or the cold rather, like, now, whether the correlation is exactly correct, I don't know. Right? You do burn more energy in the cold because it is a lot harder to stay warm than it is to stay cold. You are in much more danger from extreme cold than you are from extreme heat, despite what climate scientists may tell you. The warmer it gets, the more plants can grow. Some may die because of arid, right? Because of moisture changes, because of temperature. But for the most part, the more the carbon and heat increase in the atmosphere, the better it is for life in general. There is also the third step, which deals with digestion, right? Gluttony and denial deal directly with it. There is here saying that you need to make sure that you are choosing the correct foods, right? That was earlier. But our chief digester for our intent is virtual heat of the matter digerent. Nathless heat of the digestible things helpeth digestion and her working. Feverly heat maketh no digestion. Beans may help, and cause also destruction. Wine digested hath more heat natural than hath new must, whose heat is accidental. Coagulation is no form substantial, but only passion of things material. More ye must know, when colors appear, who is the principal agent of that matter clear, for sometimes it is heat and sometimes cold it is. No, it is always heat. You cannot add cold, right? And sometimes moisture and sometimes dryness. The principal agent to know at every season requireth great search made by futile reason, by subtle reason, which is not perceived but of masters few, for they mark not how the colors arise by row. The principal agent of the qualities for hath power royal as lord of most honor. The remnant qualities of convert to his kind, of which conversion Anaxagoras maketh mind, in his book Conversions Naturale, whereof Raymond showeth causes special. It is no jape, neither light to learn, your principal agent all seasons to discern, which I teach you to know by signs four, by color, odor, savor, and liquor. It is not insignificant to note that so far we have gone over the red, which is anger and love. We have gone over the orange, which is lust and chastity, and we have gone over the yellow, which is gluttony and denial. In in that order. And first by color to serve your intent, to know thereby your principal agent. Look into your vessel which color showeth most. He that causeth him is principal of the host. Alright, there are two vessels. Right? There is the vessel that is your temple. It is the corporeality in which you exist. There is also the vessel which encapsulates you. That vessel which encapsulates you will show colors if there is a misalignment in your intent. Right? In general terms, if you are perfectly balanced, which very few people are, myself included, right? I do not claim perfect balance. I am more balanced than most people. But in perfect balance, your aura, the divine chakra, should be white and black in perfect balance, rather resembling a checkerboard. The entire reason that the Masons have, that is a reminder of that, and they do not know that. That is one of the things that we discovered along the way. And so when you are in balance, what should be seen by those who can see it, and it is not everyone, it appears to be a skill that not everyone has. Maybe it can be developed by everyone, and it may be an intentionality thing, but some people can without having to try too hard. If they can see a color in your aura, the divine chakra, it represents a misalignment for that color. If it is red, you are misaligned in the base. If it is indigo, you are misaligned in the crown. If it is a blend of those, there is a misbalance between 2 chakras or 3 chakras, depending upon how the colors play out. If it shows the entire rainbow, you've got a lot of work to do, right? And so this, again, confirmation bias acknowledged, is exactly what I would expect to see. Your vessel, the thing, like, this is your magnetic sphere, right? The chakra that surrounds you, that is the thing that holds your physicality separated from other people's physicality. It is the manifestation of the 7 into 1 that keeps you as you. It is your bubble of existence. It is the vessel through which you can travel. Alright. As for that season, hold pride ye may swage. By this, our doctrine, if ye see him rage. I wonder if you would see red if you saw him rage, which you may do when you well understand the cause of all colors, which you have in hand. Confirmation bias acknowledged. I just said that, right? I don't read these ahead of time. When I stop, sometimes my eye might catch part of the next line, but I don't read ahead. Just saying. What would be the cause of all those colors? I wonder what it might be. Which I will teach you now shortly withal. By cause here and there, seek them, ye shall. Ye not shall. Whiteness is caused by many matters clear, in another thing determined, and so it is here. Blackness is when parts of the body dark, with thickness oppresseth the clearness of the work. The shadow work, you say? With thickness oppressive. Shadow work, you say? Or else it is of a combined terrestry. Of such combustion create hardness shall be. And by commixion of dark, clear, and clean shall be engendered all the colors mean. Every clear thing perspicuate and fair standeth by the matters of water and air. Alright, so we do have to hit the other part as well, right? We talked about fire being spirit, and we talked about body being earth. Water is another appellation for the spirit because of the physicality of moving the spirit. Air is by which it is decided to move it. Air corresponds with the soul. It is the part that fills the vessel and makes the decisions for the vessel. Water is the part that enables that, right? It is water and fire are really a corollary in this particular context. They seem to be diametrically opposed. That is because water is the source, fire is the change. Both represent the void. Earth represents the void as well. I know it gets a little bit confusing, don't it? Right? Earth represents the void created, right? It is from what you have been created. That is the only reason why that is the void, right? It is in the body. You have been created from the spirit, right? So in the things that I talk about here, 6 and 7 are probably going to be released this weekend. One of the ways that I describe this is picture that you are sitting in a pool of water, completely submerged, able to breathe with no problems, and the water is slightly moving around you, right? You can feel it like you're in the ocean, not necessarily as hard of a wave as you would feel in the ocean, but it's kind of a movement. You can feel this through intentionality. That is why I'm using this. But the air around you is going to represent the water, right? It is kind of oppressive. It is kind of pushing down on you, but you can breathe it. You're fine, right? And you're kind of just sitting there flowing with the water a little bit. You're feeling the water around you and how it moves. And then if you push your hand forward, right, you push the water and it goes forward and you'll make a little wave ahead of you. But as you push it forward, the water fills in the void left behind by your hand and it kind of flows in the same direction, right? It'll flow up your arm. That feeling of it flowing up your arm is a way of looking at how it feels when you move the energy, right? You feel the remnant of the motion more than you really feel the motion itself. You feel the void being filled by the intentionality of your motion. That is the water, right? That is the representation of the water. That is why it is used. I don't particularly care for it, but it is understandable why they use that. It fits with the feeling. Air is the part that makes the decisions, right? Shall engendered all the colors, right? A commixion of the dark and the clean and clear. That might make sense in the balancing, right? There is the dark. Like half of this is represented dark. The other half is represented light on this red ball, right? That is the balance towards wrath and the balance towards love. Neither side is perfectly good. There is a balance between them that is kindness. In this process, you pull energy up from the dark and you clear it. You do your shadow work. You pull the energy up to your base and you think about all of the things that make you mad. You go back to every single instance that you can possibly remember. This made me mad, right? Take them one at a time. Don't try and do them all at the same time. But say, okay, this thing made me mad. Why did it make me mad? Like, what really pissed me off about this? Right? It's not just my boundaries were transgressed. There's more to it. What is it? Oh, this thing in my childhood played out in this particular way, and that made me mad. And so whenever I see a reflection of that in the world, right, it may not be the exact same instance, but it may be close enough. That makes me feel anger. Well, that is something that now that I can acknowledge it, I can start to take control of. The next time somebody takes that action, I can recognize that that action is about them. It is not about me. And then I do not get angry, right? That is the same process for every single step up the stack. Every single way up the stack, go through your vices. Spend a week. That is my recommendation. It can be longer. I do not recommend less, right? You will not get there any faster by trying to rush the steps. As a matter of fact, you will probably get discouraged if you try to rush the steps. But again, this is in accordance with what I believe. And so, confirmation bias acknowledged. Every clear thing of perspicuate and fair standeth by the matters of water and air, whom a pure earth doth apprehend, if you want to cleanse your vessel, such as shall not their clearness offend. And if in such clearness and perspectui ye can no special color see, thereupon to judge, you may be bold. The cause of such things was exceedingly cold. So what you're telling me is if I get to the point where I'm not seeing color, you can no special color see, then maybe I'm in a position where I can start judging what I am doing. Confirmation bias acknowledged. As crystal barrel and other things mo, diversity between them learnt ere ye go. Crystal hath water declining in air, wherefore it is clear, perspicuous, and fair. And where it declineth toward water more, it is dark as beryl or ice hard frore. But when matters draw towards sickety, darkness with hardness engendered shall be. As it appeareth in the adamant stone, and in other things, many one. Twinkling and glittering as in magnesia is, light is cause thereof within matter of clearness. And when I talk about moving the energies, it is magnetic energies that I am talking about. If you can read the title of this, the subtitle is A Beginner's Guide to the Mechanics of Electromagnetic Manipulation and Energetic Manifestation, which is superduced upon watery vapor before time incensed with heat beyond shore. Now, after clearness and colors in extremity, of mean colors a little shew will I. Ruby colors of a thin fume seconded, in a clear body which also is amended. When in that body reigneth plenty of light, for more or less thereof make more or less bright. As the amethyst followed the ruby in dignity, and less clearness and more obscurity, and a chalcedony and slimy substance followeth the beryl in degrees of variance. Green as a smargand of water clear, with earthly substance combined mixed full near. And the clearer substance that the earth be, the cleaner greens thereof ye shall see. Tawny is of clearness terminate, infued with thick fumosity congregate, of water and also of earth seconded, whereby the clearness of air is suspended. Wan or leady color engendered is, of watery and earthy parts without emis, and where such parts be cold and thick, ever wan color thereon shall stick. And it appeareth in old lay and lead, and in men that well near dead. This wan color called lividite in envious men useth much to be. Natural heat and blood done resort to the heart them to comfort. Alright, so we've gone through a couple of colors here, right? We went through ruby, that is red. Chalcedony is more of that is closer to let me look it up just to make sure. Chalcedony. Alright. Chalcedony is, let's pull it up. Alright, that is kind of an indigo. Right? It is higher than blue. Right? This is definitely higher than, this one here is kind of aqua, that is closer, but for the most part, this chalcedony appears to be more of a purple, but it is a lighter purple. It is higher towards the white even. And so that definitely has some correlations with the top of the stack. Right, so we have the bottom with the ruby. We have with the chalcedony the top. Next follows beryl. So let's look up beryl real quick, just to make sure we got it right. Beryl. All right, so beryl. All right, we have a red beryl. We have a greenish blue beryl. Here is a slightly more blue than green beryl. Right, it appears that there are several colors for the beryl. Okay, we have green, blue, blue, red, pink, white, and yellow. So that could be any of them, really. Right, I do not know if there was one in particular that they used. And so I'm not going to try, right? But it does say green right here. All right, that to me, that's the heart. That is the binder between the red and the purple, right? The indigo is here. I have it slightly darker than it would be represented normally. That is for clarification purposes. But you have the red, you have the indigo, and then you have the green. There is a binder. Like that is literally the three spirit representatives. So, and then from you have clearer greens, right? And then you have tawny, and tawny is kind of a yellow, right? I am fairly positive. Let's look it up. Tawny. And just to make sure, but I think it's kind of a, light brown to brownish orange. So that would even be closer to the lust, right? Dull yellowish brown is going to be lower than yellow. So that is going to be closer to the sacral. And then next, what do we get, right? Wan or leady. Now, lead is a dark, right? It does have a sheen to it. The sheen to lead, right, can be associated with purple, right? This one probably shows that a little bit closer than anything else. That would probably be the correlation for the third eye. Now, that is me assuming some things because this is definitely not a one-on-one, right? What is next? I'm trying to burn through these real quick, but you see what I'm saying? Like, we do have representatives of the color, and I think lead was where it stopped. So we will get more as we go through. I will try to just point them out, right? We have sapphire that is blue, right? And leaveth cold and dry to the face, right? We are still talking about lead. The third eye is definitely associated with the face. For heat and blood is parted from that place. Likewise, when fevers be in extremity, the nails of hands of this color will be. The sapphire color, that orient blue, right? And blue would be the third step coming down. That would be the throat. Like in color to the heavenly hue, is much fairer than wan color to sight, and therein is more of air, water, and light, than is wan color, and that by manifold. Wherefore such color is more dearer fold. All other blues, the sadder that they be, they have less of air and more of terricity. Silver to azure, none brought will be. Let's look up azure real quick. That is a shade of blue as well, I'm pretty sure. Azure. Let's do azure color. Yeah, definitely blue. Definitely blue. All right, so silver to azure, right? The cause thereof is perspicuity, which is in silver caused of gold. Air is gold. Thank you, Jason, for letting me know that. Whereof it turneth to heavenly color fair, and quicksilver plenty within him is. Causeth in silver all this brightness. We have gold and silver, which is the as above, as below correlation. Gold is going to be the white masculine. Silver is going to be the dark feminine. Subtler earth, pure water, with clearness of air, causeth such brightness to quicksilver to repair. Citrine color, yellow, as you see in gold. Citrine is indeed yellow. And that would correspond with the solar plexus. We have so far gone top, middle, bottom. His color most liking for some men to behold, caused of mighty and strong digestion, for humor in him have strong decoction. For color with heat engendered be shall, as it is in honey, urine, lye, and gall. The shining of gold is caused, as I tell, of pure and subtle water, termined full well, perspicuously condensed, for water pure and fine, the more it is condensed, the better it will shine. For of a mirror the cause none other is, but moisture termined, as all clerks gives, so that it be possible withal, for air figures never shall. For air may not be terminate in his kind, so cause of shining in water ye shall find. With white and red, well metalled, pure and fine, will be engendered fair color, said Trine. So diverse commixtions of elements make diverse colors for diverse intents. With diverse digestions and diverse degrees, all colors be made with your eye and sees. Of elements you must the proper color learn, whereby of colors you may better discern. Phistians say of good herbs and soot, some be cold hours and hot with the root. Example hereof, if you lift to get, behold the workings of the gentle violet. Common philosophy the cause doth disclose, why cold is within and red without the rose. Anaxagoras said in his Conversions Naturale, inward and outward be contrary in things all. Which is true except such things as be of little compositions and nigh simplicity, as is scamon and laurel, the laxative, which be not nourishing to vegetative. Remember how in every mixed thing, evermore one element desireth to be king, which proud appetite of elements and vicious moveth men to be ambitious. Wherefore our Lord that best dispose can hath made ordinance for sinful men, all proud appetites to equality to bring, when requiem aeternum the church shall sing. Thou shalt every ambitious thought plainly appear how that it was not. Lords and beggars and all shall be in the charnel brought to equality. Your principal agent so reprobate shall ye, when he usureth above equality. Therefore Aristotle said, compound ye our stone, equal that in him repugnance be known. Neither division as ye proceed, take heed thereto, for it is great need. And when it falleth that you shall see all colors at once that named may be, then suffer nature with her operation at her own leisure to make generation. So that among so many colors all, nature may show one principle, such as shall draw towards your intent, according to your desired element. This wise by colors ye may provide, how in your works ye guide. Many mo things of colors I may write, but this is sufficient my promise to acquite. As far forth as colors may serve your intent, by them to know your principal agent. But many clerks wonder why you may see so many colors as in our stone will be, before that perfect white and clear and unchangeable will appear. Considering the fumes of the ingredients, I will that answer to please their intents, and teach them the truth of that great doubt. Be kind of magnesia, such colors pass out. By kind of magnetia, such colors pass out. Whole nature is of such convertibility, to every proportion and to every degree. As crystal to his subject is found for everything that is upon the ground, which that ye well crystal set under. Such color hath crystal, therefore cease to wonder. Wherefore Hermes said, not untruly ne envious, ad perpetuanda miracula reunius. God hath ordained fate Hermes the king to fulfill the miracles of one thing. Common philosophers thereof cannot find the virtues of our stone exceeding far their mind. Smelling may help you forth your intent to know your reigning element, and be with color a testimony to know your principal agent thereby. And ye which would by smelling learn of all your principal agent truly to discern, as white and black be colors in extremity, so of odors, soot, and stinking be. But like the fishes know not by sight, no means colors because their eyes bright, have none eyelids for their sight closing, So means old odors shall not by smelling be known of you. This is the cause why, for nostrils be open as the fish's eye. Therefore mean odors be not incertain, smelled by the nose, as means colors be seen. Heavy smell is not as clerks think, the middle odor, but only the less stink. Old fathers wrote by their doctrine of their experience, which is maturing, that if you meddle, sweet savor and redolent, equally with stinking to prove your intent, the soot shall be smelled, the stinking not so. The cause you may learn now here as you go. All sweet-smelling things have more purity and are more spiritual than stinking may be. Wherefore it is an air more penetrative, and it is more extendable, and is also to life, more acceptable as friend to nature, and therefore rather be your shore. I'm going to check real quick and see how far until the next break. This is all dealing with odor. We really have just 4 pages. If this stops on page 5, see, this is going to continue. All right, we're going to go ahead and wrap this one up. I really hate to do it because it is kind of in the middle of something, but there will be 13 pages in the next one, which will be slightly longer than this one, but we're already at an hour and a half on this one. So if I get into 6 pages, it's going to be a while. So that's going to bring us to the end of the first part of chapter 5. Hopefully I brought a little bit of enlightenment and not too much confusion to a series of not too difficult topics. Hopefully you understand. I understand that I hold some unconventional beliefs, and I do have a tendency to step on toes when I relay those. It is not intentional, but it is not something that I apologize for. The more that I do this, the more I realize I am going to have to release 6 and 7. Right? Chapters 6 and 7 are the ones that deal with actual manifestation, the actual pulling of the energies, the setting of intentionality, the actual doing of the process. That will get released Saturday and Sunday because I only do one video for Saturday and Sunday. They are already scheduled, so we will let the members, what used to be members only videos, come out to the general public because apparently it is necessary, right? This is like, it keeps hitting me as I'm doing this. I'm going to have to release 6 and 7, so I'm taking that as confirmation to do so. The things that I discussed, right, when I was talking about pulling the energies, identifying the colors and all of that, that is in 6 and 7, right? That is why we're going to go ahead and release that. If you are interested, it will already be out by the time you see this video. Other than that, I don't have a whole lot to add, right? We are in the middle of something, so I'm going to stop this, get some more tea, start the next video, and get on with it. If you like what I'm doing over here, let me know down below. Give me a like, a share, a follow, throw me a comment. Whether you agree or disagree with anything that is said, put it in the box down below, and if it remains respectful, it gets to remain up. If you really like what I'm doing over here, hit me with that super thanks. Consider joining for a membership, picking up a copy of my book where I teach you all of these things, or reaching out to me through the links provided down below, or just to support the channel. Anything will be appreciated. To the crew, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate every single minute that you are here with me, and I am praying for you every single day. Until next time, I love you. God loves you. You are perfect, whole, and complete, just the way that you are. And this has been Pittstake. Peace.